Okay, Alyssa, let's get to the news, and let's start on a high note.
Okay.
Thought I'd do some grocery shopping. I'm at Wegner's, and my wife wants some vegetables for crudité, right? So here's a broccoli. That's $2. Not a ton of broccoli there. Here's some asparagus. That's $4. Yep. And carrots. That's $4 more. That's $10 of vegetables there. And then we need some guacamole. That's $4 more. And she loves salsa. Yeah, there's salsa there. $6. Must be a shortage of salsa. Guys, that's $20 for crudité, and this doesn't include the tequila. I mean, that's outrageous. And we got Joe Biden to thank for this.
So the sound you just heard was famous New Jersey Hall of Fame nominee Dr. Oz, whose campaign for Senate in Pennsylvania has devolved into him releasing embarrassing and widely mocked buckets of social media chum, I think is the best way to describe it.
It is. Erin, what was he doing? What was he doing? It's like, who thought that was a good idea?
Honestly, his social media team hates him like Sarah Huckabee Sanders' makeup artist used to hate her.
Hates. Yeah. They're like, yeah, crudité, get salsa.
The absolute, I watched it with the expression on my face that I have when I watch TikTok cooking videos where they're like making pasta directly
spreading it on the counter.
Yes! Yeah. Or like filling a crock pot with cream cheese and then like putting a like ball of pepperoni inside of it. It was just like, what?
It's like, I wanted to be like, Dr. Oz, they actually make the salsa from crudité. like that's, it doesn't go with crudité.
No, but like let's not sleep on the guac asparagus combination.
The guac, but also why in that store was the guac less expensive than the salsa? That's an aberration if I ever.
That doesn't make sense. That was also an amateur move of somebody who doesn't go grocery shopping for themselves. Because real G's know that if you're going to do salsa, you either do the like stuff that comes in a sealed jar.
Yes.
That is not refrigerated, or you just make it yourself.
Exactly.
Because unless
homemade pico de gallo or jarred salsa.
Mm-hmm. Most grocery stores in most neighborhoods don't make great salsa. There are exceptions. No. There are exceptions. There's a couple grocery stores out here in LA where if you don't get the salsa, why did you even go to the grocery store? That's like part of the whole appeal of going to the grocery store. But yeah, Wegmans, no.
Wegmans or Redner's, we don't know because he combined the names and he went to a made-up grocery store.
I mean, it is fun to just sort of dunk on Dr. Oz because it's getting to the point where, he 100% deserves it. He is not a good representative for Pennsylvanians, and he would not be a good senator. But I think that these issues really highlight the reasons that he wouldn't be a good representative. He doesn't know what it's like to be a normal person.
I mean, if they send him to the dairy aisle next week, it's all over for him. He doesn't have a chance.
Honestly, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like Thanksgiving, right? And when I was little, we're in a house where the roles during Thanksgiving are gendered, which I feel like are most houses. Yeah. Women are doing most of the cooking. Men are doing most of the running to the grocery store at the last minute. But it, to me, reminded me of a person who is sent to the grocery store on Thanksgiving who is not cooking, who does not know how to go grocery shopping, and who comes home with like the total wrong ingredients.
Yes.
Like I think the example that I thought of first is, because this happened to me one time. I sent somebody for sweetened condensed milk and they came back with like French vanilla half and half. And I was like, no, I can't use
not
this.
Not dairy aisle.
I
not
can't.
Dairy. It's not in the dairy aisle.
I can't use this. And it also reminded me of, Dr. Oz's wife, if she did indeed send him for the crudité, will not be sending him to the grocery store ever again.
Never, ever. Wait, my question though, the sweetened condensed milk, was that for pumpkin pie?
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. I just had to know.
Yes, of course. Okay, let's see. By the way, if you are a Pennsylvania voter and you're listening, there's a new ad campaign out from Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart reminding you that if you are a felon, you're still allowed to vote. That comes from an organization called One Pennsylvania, and it is iconic, just in terms of the visual impact of looking at it, and also the message. It's really important that we remember that Martha Stewart is a felon.
She's a felon. And she's also like real life BFFs with Snoop Dogg. So it's just a 360 bundle of joy.
It's a great collab. It's a great collab with an important message. And wow, Pennsylvania continuing to churn out color in this election season. Okay, let's talk about primary election results and my Newswitch prediction that Liz Cheney is eventually going to be the president, which brings me no pleasure whatsoever.
No, but look, you've been saying it for a while, and it may not be something you want to be right about, but I think you could be right.
Yeah. So in an election where I think something like less than 200,000 people voted, but yet was national headlines because whatever, we give way too much attention to red state elections. Liz Cheney lost a Republican primary for
a landslide.
Wyoming's one congressional seat. And it was a landslide. But, again, I just wanted to give some perspective to what a landslide looks like in Wyoming. Yes. There are, I think, 580,000 people in the state of Wyoming, which I honestly am starting to believe should be abolished as a state. It should just be absorbed into the surrounding states.
Okay.
It doesn't need 2 senators,
they really should never complain about anything. 2 senators and a member at large. That's a lot of representation for the bison.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so in Liz Cheney's concession speech, Don't Cry for Me, Jackson Hole, she indicated pretty strongly, although she didn't spell out specific plans, that she was planning on some continued national political presence. Alyssa, what do you make of that?
Of course, it makes total sense. I'm not sure. If Wyoming threw her out in a landslide, I'm not sure how the National Republican Party, which seems even less kind about, displays of courage against Donald Trump than Wyoming might. So I'm not sure what it gets her. Maybe she runs as an independent. But look, I'll say this. The woman's got balls. It is so clear to anyone what Donald Trump did. And the fact that it's only Liz and Adam Kinzinger who are like, this is wrong and it needs to, we need to investigate it. And she knew she was going to lose her seat if she did it. So, I don't know. She'll be fine. She's very, very rich and she'll have a good life no matter what happens. But, I give her credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's also important to remember that Liz Cheney voted alongside or voted in lockstep with Donald Trump when he was the president. Something
more than almost anybody else.
More than Elise Stefanik. More than some of the people that are now just the most ardent public bootlickers of Donald Trump. She was more. So the thing about Liz Cheney continuing to be a national political figure is, as a member of the January 6th committee, she is dogged and the work that she has done is admirable. And I've got nothing to offer her and her work on the committee, but kudos. She's been absolutely great in that role. But her on a national scale is a return to saying the quiet part quiet. Yeah. Mm-hmm, she's her being a national politician, a national presence in the Republican Party is, she'd still be advocating for all of the same policies that the Supreme Court is helping to further, a dismantling of voting rights, a dismantling of civil rights, and basically a weakening of the federal government to the point that we have a state by state level chaos when it comes to every single issue and not just abortion. So yeah, on one hand, it's I really like Liz Cheney as a thorn in Donald Trump's side or somewhere else on his body. But I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. And I don't think we're going to be able to throw her. She's from Wyoming. That woman can hang on to a Bronco. Metaphorically.
And she may.
And she may. I don't trust the Cheneys. I fear them. Okay, speaking of fear, we are living in a post-Roe dystopia, a tech dystopia in a way. The age that we're living in means that data about people's reproductive choices, people's medical decisions are more susceptible to being exploited by bad actors than ever. And in a post-Roe world, sometimes those bad actors, as we know, are the state.
Right.
So last week we talked about Facebook handing over DMs and private Facebook data to authorities in a case of a teenager having an abortion. This week we're talking about how college students aren't actually protected by HIPAA.
Which is, okay, my brain blew apart when I read about this. I had no idea that this Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act existed, which literally is the reason that they're not protected by HIPAA.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit more?
Yes. The Family Educational Privacy and Rights Act is the law that applies to kids in college. And what it means now in states, it's apparently, and I tried to read it, it's very, very dense, which means you know that it's fucking fucked up because you can't just read it and be like, oh, I get it. But Jessica Valenti did a great article on this. And essentially, as an example, Erin, say I was a student in college and I was raped and I reported it to my school and they recommend you go see a therapist, which would make terrific sense. So you go see the therapist. Well, Erin, they can access the notes that your therapist took. And the way in which schools use this is that they assume, say, I feel the case was handled badly, that the school didn't take me seriously. If I go to sue the school, they can access my records, which in many cases I cannot even access. And
oh my God.
They can, for example, then, a student who's working in the dean's office is like, goes and accesses my records at the request of the dean. If that student sees that I was counseled by my residence assistant, my RA, to get an abortion, and say we live in Texas, she can try to get the $10,000 bounty and report me to the police, report the residence advisor to the police. It is fucking wild that this law exists. And it really is perilous in states specifically that are anti-abortion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, it's funny. This week, or we're kind of in the thick of it, but I'm not getting it as much this year. The Bama TikTok sorority rush content. Yeah. You know, on social media, it's you know, sorority rush right now. And there's a ton of content of all of these young women trying to join like Greek life. And, you know, I keep thinking as I'm seeing all of these kids, I mean, they're young adults, but they're right on the cusp of adulthood. A lot of them are rushing colleges that are in states that are not only hostile to abortion, but that are surrounded by places where abortion is accessible. And I'm like, God, you know what? I know that there are going to be girls in these videos that I'm watching who eventually need to access Plan B, or who where their emergency contraception doesn't work and they find themselves pregnant and they need to access abortion. Like, there are so many people in these states that seem to want to live on a planet separate from the planet that we're living on. And it's crazy. I feel as though a lot of college students are, and again, brings me no joy to say this, are kind of in for a rude awakening. Whatever kind of carefree aspects of college life people even in my generation could enjoy. I mean, I did go to a Catholic school, but, you know, had I gone to a state school, you know, those things are not going to be, there are going to be a lot more high stakes, you know,
right.
And it's really fucked up that your college can share with authorities information about whether or not you've sought abortion care. That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
It's fucked up. And I hope that Secretary Cardona, Secretary of Education, they know that this is inadequate, and I hope that they get on addressing it. Like, seems like this shouldn't be too hard to fix.
Yeah, and it also seems as though college students shouldn't exist in this like weird legal donut hole where their rapes are taken, you know, are handled by their university, and law enforcement kind of doesn't really deal with them either, and they're not really protected like adults are protected by HIPPA, but they're also, it's a very odd legal place for them to be in, especially now that abortion rights are not protected for millions and millions of Americans. So we will keep an eye on that. If you go to a college where they're taking steps to protect you, we would love to hear about it. Hysteria@crooked.com, because it just seems like it's the Wild West out there right now, and I'm very curious about what's going on. Okay, more in the tech dystopia. Google Maps is regularly sending people looking for abortion clinics to crisis pregnancy centers, which are not abortion clinics. Yeah, that's like if I broke my leg, I needed to go to the doctor, and Google was like, try going to church.
Right. You should pray on it.
Yeah, that's not going to fix it. I need a cast. I need an expert. I need a medically trained professional. I don't need lies and guilt and really coercive attempts to get me to have the baby and then give it to a rich evangelical family.
Exactly.
That's essentially what crisis pregnancy centers are.
It was so I did try Googling. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try this and see what happens. But I'm in New York, so there are places to get abortions, so it's easier. It came up as actual abortion centers.
Well, now if you go to Texas, you're going to be in big trouble, Alyssa.
Big trouble.
You're going to be on their 10 million most wanted list of people who are Googling abortions. But yeah, Bloomberg News did an analysis of Google Maps results, and they found about a quarter of the results given to people who type in abortion clinic into the map search bar are pregnancy centers. Crisis pregnancy centers. Not abortion clinics.
Not abortion clinics. Not what we're looking for.
No. And in 13 states, including Arkansas, South Carolina, and Idaho, where the procedure is essentially banned, 5 or more of the top 10 results were CPCs, not abortion clinics. Do better. You know what? I wonder how people who work at Google feel about this. Probably not good.
I mean, I'm hoping this article is a wake-up call.
Yeah, I mean, how can the algorithms at these places turn out to be so much more conservative than the people who work there? It just seems weird.
Seems a little suspicious.
Seems a little sus. So closing out this kind of tech dystopia segment, interesting data. Like, this is sort of a well.
I love when you bring a good well to the end of news.
Yeah, this is sort of a well, and this is also something that we would file under find out season. So the data firm Target Smart took a look at voter registration data after the 24th of June. 24th of June was the day the Dobbs decision was handed down by the Supreme Court. Of course, we know that date, which will live in infamy. Target Smart analyzed new voter registrations in states where reproductive rights are in danger. In Wisconsin, for example, there's an 1849 law that has been allowed to go into effect that bans abortion in the state. In Wisconsin, since June 24th, women have out-registered men to vote by 15.6%. Significant.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, pretty good. 15.6%. In Michigan, where an old abortion ban was allowed to, it's sort of working its way through the courts right now, women are out-registering men to vote by 8.1 percentage points, and Democrats in Michigan are out-registering Republicans by 18 percentage points. Now, you might say, well, is this just the way that Democrats and women register to vote? Is it just part of the pattern? In states where reproductive rights are not immediately in jeopardy, like in like New York, for example, voter registrations close to 50-50 men and women. So I just got to say, this might be some find out season when it comes to Dobbs. We don't know what the impact of the Dobbs decision will be on voting. We know what the impact is on people's lives because we're seeing it every single day, and it's horrific and disgusting. But the impact on voting is something that is yet to be seen, and it looks as though there are hints that the impact might be that women are pissed.
They're like, okay, you went and did it. Okay, fuck it. We're not putting pussy hats on this time. We're just going to vote.
And that's fine. It's way too hot to wear a hat right now.
Way too hot for a hat, and voting's much more effective.
Exactly. And we did see this in Kansas as well. So
Yeah,
keep
fingers crossed. I mean,
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And the thing is, like, I think this speaks to the power of the way that people in women's spaces talk to each other and communicate with each other. I know my group of friends from college has been, by the way, that cat.
I don't know what I'm going to do with Chunky today. He's out of control. Chunk is out of control. I gave him treats and everything before. He's supposed to be asleep right now. He's trying to eat the microphone.
I mean, it does look, it's so soft. Like, you do kind of.
He's like,
it looks, it's
like,
like, yeah.
That's right. Bye, Chunk. He's depressed now. He's pissed. He's going to go eat his treats.
Yeah. I mean, they do kind of look like Muppet noses. You just want to like, so yeah, I think this speaks to the way that like women socialize with each other and how important it is for people who are even in red states or purple states or even in places where you feel as though maybe you're like a blue dot in a sea of red. Mm-hmm. Just kind of start having these conversations with your friends. People who aren't necessarily the most politically involved, who you think might actually be people that we can have voting in favor of preserving bodily autonomy. Start those conversations. I think that having a conversation with a neighbor and a friend is a much more powerful way to get people to the polls than, a splashy
Bring
TV
it up
ads.
at book club,
Bring it up at book club. Bring it up at like Bible study.
Any place.
Abortion is in the Bible,
It's always okay to talk about abortion.
Is it?
Sure.
I mean, I can think of a few examples where perhaps it would not be.
Well, I'm just saying. I think if you're at book club, that means you're reading books. And if you're reading books, it means you're curious. So bring up abortion.
Yeah, why not? Why not? See what happens. It's find out season. So
let's find out.
We've got a toast. Alyssa, you wanna give the toast this week?
You know what? I love Scotland so much. I'm actually going to go there next year.
What? Amazing.
Yes, Erin. The Scottish government became the first in the world to legally protect the right to access free period products when the Period Products Act came into force earlier this week. Erin,
that's great.
It's not just that they're putting an array of products in public places. You can actually search online and be like, where's the closest tampon to me? And it'll tell you. Libraries, community centers, you name it, Erin. You can get, hopefully, organic cotton to your heart's content.
Oh, that's wonderful. It also presents some cool opportunities for like friendship meet cutes. Imagine like meeting a friend over the basket of free Scottish tampons.
Or being like, no, you take the last tampon. I'll take the maxi pad.
Totally.
Friends forever.
When you're traveling in Scotland, if you really want to make friends, you just like hang out near the free period products and like wait for a kindred spirit to come by and you guys can...
Be like, isn't it cool? This is free.
That's great. Well, a toast to Scotland if we have any listeners there, which I'm sure we do.
I hope we do.
I hope we do. I want to hear you. You guys should be leaving us voice memos.
Really good ones in your like very perfect accents.
Yes, I won't be able to understand it,
but we'll play them.
We will play them and be like, "Oh, that's fun to listen to."